Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Offbeat with me, Sandy Rich. Yeah, this is the program where I interview all kinds of interesting individuals from all walks of life. So, what's offbeat? Offbeat is when people are doing something slightly different of what you call the beaten track. So some people, have professions and careers and other things, and many of us are always focused on that one thing that we do. And then you have some individuals who are very focused on their career, moving ahead, doing all kinds of things, but at the same time, they've got other interests and they are pursuing that with just as much enthusiasm and focus and dedication as their career. And there are not many people around like that. So when I found this lady, I said, whoa, this is amazing because she is doing so much and she manages her time so beautifully. And I thought, "Yeah, I must have her on the show so she can share with us how she manages to put all of this, pack all of this into 24 hours of the day. And not only 24 hours of the day, is 365 days of the year, and it's been going on for years. So when I asked her to come on the show and I asked her to share with me, I was amazed at the number of books. And so I'm going to bring her on and she's going to introduce herself and she's also going to show us all those books that she's written because today I'm going to interview her as an author. So I'm going to bring on my guest. Welcome, my dear, my prolific author. And before, just after introducing yourself, your name, I'd like you to first show our audience all of those books that you've written. So over to you.
Okay. Hi, Sandy. I'm very pleased to be with you here. Thanks for having me. So I'm a doctor. I'm a nephrologist, and I teach medicine. I'm a professor of medicine too, and a writer, an author, as you said. And I've written several books, as you announced. So here are the books I've written. This is the first book, Si Dieu nous prête vie. It's in French. I write in French. That means if God grants us life. And it's a story about dialysis patients sharing the same dialysis session and having discussions, dreaming about a better life and everything. So it's a story that does not deal with the disease or the death, but it deals with life. The second book was this one that was awarded by a prize in a French contest. It's poetry and philosophical texts that question life and several concepts like justice, freedom, and so on. The third one, which is my most popular novel, is this one, L'Inconnu. L'inconnu is that means the unknown. It's the story of a very strong lady who got a very tough life, but she kept going. She overcame all the troubles and all the difficulties in her life. And it's the story about a Moroccan mother who is really, really admirable. This book was translated to Arabic, and this is the Arabic version. And it's very, this is the Arabic version of the book. And most of my readers love this book. I do too. The second book I've shown you. It was translated to English recently in the Course of Dreams and was published by Austin Macaulay in London. So here it is, In the Course of Dreams. And the last one, the one before the last is this one, Trahison pieuse, Devote Treason. It's a very exciting story and yet disturbing about a man who was perfect, way too perfect. The last book is this one. It's an academic one. It's about social responsibility in health in Africa, and it deals with this concept of social responsibility in health applied to our continent, Africa, and it's also based on a survey that was conducted in our continent some years ago. And of course, there's a new novel that's on the way. It's gonna be published very very soon. I just signed the contract with a very nice Parisian publishing editor in Paris. So that's these are the books, the individual books I have written. I also have some participated to collective books uh, in poetry, novelettes, and so on.
Okay. I mean, that's a lot of work and a lot of writing and a lot of stuff that has gone into that because it's quite a few books that you've written. So I would like to ask you, Intisar, when did you discover that you liked writing? Is it something that happened when you were younger, or how did it happen?
Well, it's in my early childhood. I grew up in a family with very educated parents who introduced me to reading and to the universe of books, and I really love that. And so I started reading, and by reading, by reading we get to writing somehow. So I started writing too, and they were very encouraging. I also participated in writing contests and got some prizes in my teenage years. And then I've signed my first contract at the age of 17 for some short stories and essays with Cambridge University Press. And of course, this was very stimulating, very encouraging. So I kept on writing until now. So it's something that has evolved with me throughout the years. It's not something that just happened one day when I grew up.
Wonderful. So, with all this prolific writing and this creative part of you, and of course, it involves a lot of vocabulary and a lot of different things, all related to creativity. When did you decide to go on a parallel track of becoming a doctor?
Yeah, everything was decided somehow in my childhood. In my early childhood, as I said, I discovered the magnificent universe of words, stories, reading and writing, and so on. And I love that. And at the same time, I've decided to become a doctor because I was very, very inspired, or somehow I admired the way doctors could know the cause of the disease and to cure it. That was something I wanted to do myself. So I've decided to become a doctor at a very early age too. And I kept with these two parallel paths since the beginning. So I've always read, oh, and I keep reading. I love reading a lot. This is my favorite hobby, I would say, my favorite activity. And I practice my medicine with a lot of love because this is something I've chosen. This is something I do with passion. So my day is somehow divided between these two things. The whole day I'm a doctor. I'm focused with my patients, with my work, which is I love so much, as I said. And when I have a spare time at night or in the weekend or in a day off, then I can get to create characters, to write dialogues, and so on, to make them interact, to create parallel words. Yeah.
Okay, so now my next question is this. From what I understand, okay, when you're going into a field like medicine,
Mhm.
obviously you have to take subjects, science subjects, right? And science subjects are it's all very factual, a lot, everything is, you have to do it in this manner, and you have
Mm.
to get this result. And in chemistry, if you don't get it right, obviously the results will be wrong, and all of those things are very precise. there's no room for error.
Mm,
Okay, so you can't get creative and say, oh, I'll do it this way and let's concoct this, right? Because it
mm,
won't come out right. And on the other hand, you have this part of you that's very creative, and you let your imagination flow, the words are flowing, etc. So it's two kind of different paths that you're following, right? And
absolutely.
when you were going through your university years and I know that medicine is quite a challenging path, especially when it comes to time. So how were you able to balance this? Was it when you did your writing, it sort of just relaxed you and you felt refreshed, and that was the way you dealt with the pressure?
Yeah, absolutely. You said a lot of very accurate things, Sandy. Being a doctor and I mean medicine and science, medicine is a scientific field, which is very accurate. There is no space for creativity, I would say. Even when you write something medical, scientific, you should be very, very precise, very concise, and accurate with the choice of your words. For someone who loves words like me, sometimes, just being limited to this life or to this way of acting is somehow frustrating for someone like me. So I have this other side in which I do diverse all my creativity and my potential of imagination and creation. You said how I do balance these sides. Well, it's somehow spontaneous. I always get this question and I answer to it that to me it's like someone jogging after an exhausting day at work. So I spend the day working, very focused and everything. Then when I have time, I take out all the limits and I write whatever I want to write. And this is a fabulous, fabulous feeling. It's refreshing, as you said, it's energizing, it's resourcing. This is something I really that does so much good things to me. So it's beneficial to me.
Okay, so now coming to the part of the author. Okay,
Mhm.
how do you choose the subject? How do you choose the characters? How do you choose the theme? How does that come about?
Mhm. You know, I love to read scientific novels, novels that are based on where when the I mean the plot is based on scientific facts. I love also to read historical novels. There are so many authors like Gilbert Sinoué, for example's books that are historical and based on facts. So these are my favorite kind of books. But I do write social novels, social realistic novels, in which I have chosen to write about female or feminine condition in my country. I tell stories and I construct stories with characters that most of them are females. I mean, the main characters are females, and I tell stories about I'm inspired by the reality. And also being a doctor is somehow, as I always say, is a kind of window on the society. So I get confronted to or rather I hear so many stories about society from various social levels. So it's very, very inspiring. It's not the stories that lack. And also reading is a source of inspiration, of course. But you know why I did this choice of making women as Moroccan women as main characters is in this choice was somehow inspired by one of my favorite authors, Toni Morrison, who chose to portray Black American females as main characters in all her novels to make because she said most of the time these characters are secondary ones in movies or in books. So it doesn't give a clear idea of their struggle, of their condition, and so on. So to shed the light on them and to make their stories and their voice heard, it's really interesting to make them in the front line and to make them as main characters. So I did the same in my novels, and they are very appreciated. And even the stories of my characters are, to me, this is at least how I get it, are very understood. And I mean, people, when they read the stories, they get my point.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the way you portray your characters, they're quite real life
Absolutely.
characters. So if I were reading your book, I would be able to easily identify with the female characters because she could be perhaps through your story portraying my life or the struggles that I face. So uh, when you're writing in that way and bringing out the women's characters, what they are going through, how they are dealing with those things, be it financial, be it emotional, be it family related or whatever, do you picturize a particular kind of woman whom you might have met or you might have treated or somebody that you came across, in any circumstances? Does she sort of become that person that you want to bring to life?
Yeah, this is a very nice question, Sandy. You know, when I construct a character, usually it is complex. The characters are complex. They have traits of various people that I've met in my life that I'm interested in. They have some some features and traits that really interest me. So, and this is what I do in the outline before starting, prior to starting the story. I have the idea. I know how the story starts, how it finishes, and the characters that do interfere and interact in it. And when I choose the characters and the names, and this is really the one of the hardest parts of writing a novel, when I choose the characters, sometimes I even do a scheme of that person, the name, because you create a person, you create a person, a fictional person. It should have a name, an affiliation, an address, a way of thinking, a mindset, the way it dresses, the way it speaks, and so on. So, of course, for each and every one of these parameters, I do have in mind specific people that I've met, that I know, and sometimes in the dialogues when I make them interact, I say, how would this person react, and how would she answer in this situation? So this is mainly how I do create my characters.
Okay, so through the stories and through your characters, are you giving the reader important life lessons?
Yes, yes. This is also a choice I've done years ago. To me, literature should bring messages, and because I know, for example, in my case, that I'm read by young people. I have students who read my books. I know people from various backgrounds who do write. So I say, if they like the books, at least I would like this book to be full with something, with a message that is interesting, that is beneficial to their path. I most of the time in all my novels, there is this message that we can overcome adversity by working hard, by believing in ourselves, by remaining positive. There is this kind of positivity, this message of positivity that we do read across the lines, and the good always triumphs at the end somehow. Okay, so these are they are lessons. I don't write just to write. It's not just like writing a book with no purpose. All of them do have purposes, and it's somehow a celebration of these women, of these ladies who work hard, who do their best to keep themselves, to hold themselves with dignity throughout the hurdles of life.
Yeah. So, when we were talking earlier, you talked about your love for reading started when you were very young. You were around
Yes.
8 years old, and your parents encouraged you a lot to read. So, what would your advice be to parents today? Because the reason I asked that is we have a lot of things, distraction like social media and iPads, and the kids watching things on screen all the time, which is not really reading. So how would you get young people to read without putting them under pressure? I know you have kids of your own, so have you been able to encourage that habit of reading with them?
Somehow it's more difficult in our time than it was in my parents. It's very, as you said, there are a lot of distractions, and the reality of things has changed. Maybe they're not going to read the paper book like we do, like we did, and like we do. We find it very charming. I mean, to get a paper book between our hands, but
Hmm.
young people, yeah, yeah, the feeling is wonderful. But now young people do have smartphones, to have tablets and things like that. So maybe it's time to think about other methods of reading. Maybe they can read a novel on a screen. This is also a way to read. So I don't know. I know it's not very easy, but just uh, telling them, advising them some nice books, telling them about some plots, about some kind of books. This is what I do with my kids. I say, it reminds me of a story I've read some years ago. It's about a boy who was in this situation, and this is what happened. If you want to get the end of the story, then there is the book, or this is the title of the book. Check it out. You
Yes.
see, and this way you just simulate their curiosity. But what I want to say, if you want your kids to achieve anything in life, would it be reading, writing, doing anything and be successful, my first advice is to love them and to encourage them and to
Yes.
take them as they are. This is the first thing, because when I go back and to my with my memories to my childhood, what my parents did was encouraging me. That means when
Yes.
I came to them with some short stories written uh, anyhow, I would say they were written. Yeah, they were very short and maybe irrelevant stories. I don't know, but then they were very, very encouraging, and they said, "Wow, this is great. You're gonna become a writer. I'm sure of that." This is what I did not say is that my parents are psychologists. Mom and dad are psychologists, and so they know they know these
Yeah,
things. And
yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so uh,
it's helped.
what would your advice be to people who are budding authors? They keep thinking, oh, I want to write this book, I want to do this, but they never really get down to it. So, what's your advice on, you know, getting something done? Is it like you just put down random thoughts, or do you come up with a plot? And being a creative person, does the plot change very often? Or
Mm.
you need to be clear, because many people think they are creative, and but they get distracted and they get confused. So, what would
Yeah,
your advice be to budding authors?
this is a question I always get when I sign my books at book fairs, for example. I receive mostly young people and young women who say, "I love to write too. I have a lot to tell, but I don't know how to just achieve this." So my advice would be just write. If you want to write, just write. Be persistent. Try to write every day. Don't worry about the quality of your writing at the beginning or during the process. Because most of the time, what discourages the people is that they do both things, writing and editing at the same time. So of course, when you write and when you finish a paragraph and you go through it, trying to edit it and to correct it, of course you're not going to go any further, and you feel that it's not that good, that it's not deserve to be read, and no one's gonna appreciate this kind of writing, which is false. So the first thing to do, ask yourself, why do you want to write, and what do you want to write, which is the topic you want to work on. So you just, if you we start with something. Usually when we put the outline of a novel and we before selecting or constructing the characters, we start by something very important. It's the literary intention. That means you tell your story in 10 lines, something like a paragraph of 10 lines at the maximum, in which you summarize the story you want to tell about. This summary should be very clear in your mind. I mean, the main idea, the story, how we did start, how the characters do evolve throughout the narration. All of this should be really clear in your mind prior to starting. And then you just start writing, and write every day. Try to write, for example, a paragraph today, maybe a page tomorrow. In my case, for example, when I say, okay, I'm going to write a paragraph, I end up with 3 or 4 pages. Because when you start a dialogue is just like a conversation. You start with maybe with 1 or 2 sentences, and then it goes on and gets elaborated, and it's like that. And at the end, when you finish your story, at the end you can go through it again and correct, and ask friends about advice, and make them read it, and so on. This is the way.
So in your case, you are creative. Your vocabulary is wonderful. Your thoughts flow, and so you are able to make your characters come to life through your words. And on the other hand, we have a lot of people who write books, but it's written by a ghostwriter. Okay, so what do you think about that? Because they're not they're not the actual thoughts and the feelings of the person. It's somebody else writing it for them.
Yeah,
So
are you talking about biographies, for example? When you get your
no,
biography?
no, biographies is different. I know a lot of people who have ideas, but they get a ghostwriter, and that person is putting down things. So I try sometimes wonder, like, whose creativity is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like I have an idea, but I want you to write about it? And then,
I personally don't know about people doing this in I mean, in my surroundings and people around me. I have no idea about this kind of process. Yeah, in my country, I know this in my country, maybe nobody does this. I've never heard about that.
okay,
I know the writers here in my country, for example, they write their own
yeah.
books.
So I think
And
yes, for autobiographies, you do have a ghostwriter, right?
excuse me,
For
I
an
did not.
when you're writing an autobiography, like I want to write about my life, but
Mhm.
I don't know how to express myself, then most probably I would get perhaps somebody like you, who's very good with words, who has very good expressions to bring out the true essence of what I am feeling or saying or doing. So
Hmm.
is that something that happens in your country as well? There are people
No,
who write.
I don't think so. I never heard about that here, as I said, in my country, my surrounding. But if you want there is a piece of advice. If someone wants to write a book, they must first read. because reading gives you the vocabulary, makes you understand how people do construct their chapters, how they make their dialogues, how they make the narration. So we cannot start, as I always tell my son. I have a young boy who always who says, "Mom, I'm going to write a book." I say, "Good, this is good, but then start by reading, because it's reading that brings you to writing and not the other way around." You see, you first should read a lot, and then after that, after a while, you get enough vocabulary. You somehow master the art of writing, I would say, and then you can write. You cannot just say, "Okay, I'm going to write," and you have no background for that. You have no, you don't have the required tools to write. Okay?
Yes, yes, agree. I agree 100% with you because I'm one of those people who's always encouraged my children to read, and they thank me for that now because they've really developed the liking to read.
Yeah,
And But the other thing that I find, and this is something that is a bit of a conflict because you have all these things to assist you, AI generated and chat, whatever, GPT. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with these things. That they sort of just generate stuff, which is
mhm.
absolutely impersonal. It has absolutely no value. It does not. It's not
We cannot
emotive.
say,
It's nothing else. So I
we
think
cannot,
we should stick to the creativity of our mind if we truly want to do something which is of value and which somebody else will enjoy reading.
yeah, you're right, but I wouldn't say that AI has got no value. No, maybe it can help with something. It's a tool that can help, but then the idea and everything and the way you write, when it's human, it has another taste. It's I don't know how to express that. Maybe, for example, you want to construct a plot, so you can ask the AI to do that. The problem with that is that it could be really perfect. And when we go to literature, when we seek a book, a literary book, are we seeking perfection? I doubt. When you read a book written by a human, by an author, you got all this, you got something from the author. You got a part of his or her vulnerability, of his or her feelings, and you got, and this the imperfections you got in the human creation is something that is very touching somehow, and it's moving, it's touching. It's really what I guess this is what we seek when we go and get a novel. So I don't think that AI could ever replace a human creation. In I mean, the beauty of human creation with all its imperfections.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, that's what makes us a human being. You know,
Yeah.
we're there. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
I
said being human is not being perfect. That's what makes the difference.
exactly, and that's
Hmm,
what I love the most is what you said. Be human, because
absolutely.
we are unique, each one of us, right?
Yeah.
Our DNA, our fingerprint, we're just as unique as our fingerprint. And you and I can have similar thoughts, yes, but then there are other traits of our personality which are completely different. And that's what makes us interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So thank you very much, my dear. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your ideas. And I hope that you're going to continue writing. And I have no doubt that not only will you continue writing, but you will come up with bigger and better and more interesting and intellectually challenging novels in the future, because this is a road of development. It's not, just I wrote this and that's it. Because with every novel that you write, this is what I feel, is you are bringing more human ingenuity to your work. Is that correct?
Yeah, I love your words, Sandy. Thank you very much. I was very glad to be hosted by you in Offbeat with Sandy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my love, and all the best. And please do keep in touch. Well, there you have it. A prolific writer, a successful doctor, a woman who is interested in research, who does a lot of scientific research. She writes papers, and she's also very passionate about all aspects of her life. She's a mom, looks after her kids, makes wonderful use of her time. And why I brought her on this particular platform of mine is to show that you don't have to follow just one path. You can be offbeat, you can have parallel paths, and you can hop from one to the other as she does with perfect ease and continue doing what. So if you have that creative streak in you, go for it, because I just showed you through my guest that is absolutely possible. So till we meet again, God bless and take care.